Hi, my name's Nikki Rhyme. Oh, no, it's Nikki Brammer. And I'm going to do my oral presentation for you, which is titled, Imagine Peace, Become the Peacemaker. I have attached in my assignment a slideshow for you. It has 3 slides that will allow you to follow along. Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us, above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries, it isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one. I hope you recognize those lyrics. They're actually they come from one of my favorite songs written by John Lennon of the Beatles. But they talk about imagining a society, imagining a day where the world actually is one and we're a peaceful society. If you look around at you today, you probably can't imagine it because all around you there is talk of war in Iraq, war in the Middle East, war in Africa between different tribes. There's even war along the border with Mexico, with all of the drug cartels. But during this oral presentation, I want you to think to yourself and ask yourself, can the world become as one? I would like to challenge you at the end of this, that it truly can become as one, but it starts with us individually. So do you believe it? Is it possible? Now, an academician by the name of Samuel P. Huntington would have you believe that the world can't become as one because of the strong differences between all of the civilizations. On the second slide, we have the hypothesis of Samuel P. Huntington, and it reads, "It is my hypothesis that the fundamental source of conflict in this new world will not be primarily ideological or primarily economic. The great divisions among humankind and the dominating source of conflict will be cultural. Nation-states will remain the most powerful actors in world affairs, but the principal conflicts of global politics will occur between nations and groups of different civilizations. The clash of civilizations will dominate global politics. The fault lines between civilizations will be the battle lines of the future." Now think about that for a second. Now, his theory has received probably more attention from the political world than any other theory during our time, at least. Now, what he's saying is that rather than having the United States fight against Canada or any other nation state, he's saying that there are groups that operate outside of nationhood, outside of statehood. They could be religious groups or tribes that are within nations. And he's suggesting that it's those groups that will war with each other and that will actually take arms against established nation states. Now, we do see this around us. In fact, a lot of the conflict during my generation has seen that. The 9/11 attacks, they were against the United States, a nation state, but they were prompted by a group of Islamic fundamentalists. They're still trying to sort out who exactly did that, but they know that the motivating reason was that this group of religious people decided to create war against the United States. You see that within Israel and Palestine. You see that within Africa. Without going into too many details, I would just ask you to put your minds to the reality that civilizations, cultures, and religions truly are at war with one another. But does it have to be that way? That's the question. Now, being students of Brigham Young University, most of us are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Even those of us that aren't members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, you probably do have your own religion and your own faith. And you may be familiar with the Doctrine and Covenants. There's a scripture that talks to us about becoming one. It's Doctrine and Covenants, section 38, verse 27. And it says, "Behold, this I have given unto you as a parable, And it is even as I am, I say unto you, be one. And if ye are not one, ye are not mine. And we can ask ourselves, how do we become one? You know, we can become one in heart, and we can become one in mind. When we all decide that, like John Lennon suggests, we can become one in this desire for a peaceful world. Now, individually, we have to begin somewhere. We have to do something in order to promote a more peaceful society. I'd like to suggest 3 things. First of all, we can vote. This is a presidential election year, but even if it wasn't a presidential election year, we have the opportunity to vote for our local leaders, for representatives in Congress, and for senators in Congress. We have the opportunity to participate in the political process and help others to understand what they're voting on. You may want to run for office yourself, but I challenge you to choose those leaders that swear their efforts to a more peaceful society, and that be one of their guiding principles in their run for political office. Second of all, we can be focused on breaking down the walls. Now, in October of 1990, the Berlin Wall came down, and it's an image that many of us have permanently affixed in our mind. It's one of those events that in 20 years you'll say, I remember the day when the Berlin Wall came down. And the reason this was so important was because for decades, the Berlin Wall represented this divide between East Germany and West Germany, and nobody could cross over that. But after decades, finally the wall could come down. Of course, you know, the political leaders did play their part, but physically bringing that wall down were the people of Germany. There were sledgehammers, and they were joining together, and they were pushing the walls down. And it truly was their might that brought the wall down to the ground. Now, within our own societies, we can break down the walls figuratively. In my high school, we actually got to participate in a Breaking Down the Walls week, where we brought all of the different groups. In my high school, I grew up in Southern California, we had gangsters, and we had drug dealers, and we had very clean kids, and we had athletes, and lots of different groups that could potentially be combatant. They might not like each other, but during this week of activities, we created opportunities for them to serve together, to work alongside, and to begin to talk to each other and open a dialogue where they could get to know each other as individuals and not just know each other by the labels that they wore. To look deeper than the skin color, or look deeper beyond the baggy pants. And this was one of my favorite activities in high school because I truly did get to know more people and gain friends that I never would have had the chance to become friends with. Third, and finally, I'd like to suggest that we live in a spirit of forgiveness. Now, no matter what we do, it is more than likely that you will be offended at least once in your life. There's lots of shock jocks on the radio and on TV, and they say things that are offensive all the time. Your neighbors may do something to wrong you. Now, there's a personal piece and there's a societal piece. Personally, if you live in a spirit of forgiveness, you decide beforehand that you're going to forgive your neighbors of their trespasses. You're going to forgive whatever they may do. Now, secondly, you get to live in a spirit of forgiveness, and the society will benefit from that because people won't walk around carrying rancor in their hearts. Now, I do believe that this spirit of forgiveness can bring more peace to our societies and to our souls. Finally, the last slide that I'd like to talk about shows pictures of the Berlin Wall. The first one displays these military leaders on top of it that stood watching and making sure that nobody would cross. And for years that worked. Luckily, once the wall started coming down, there were a group of individuals that actually climbed up, joined hands, and started singing and dancing, and led people across the wall. And they were helping people to see that individually they had a part to play in bringing this wall down. I know that that's true, and I know that each of us has that opportunity. We can imagine a peaceful world, and we can be those peacemakers. Thank you.